Hey, what up everyone, this is Mondo all day, back with another video, and in this video, I'll be doing a build guide for Loki. I'll be going over which artifacts to use, which uniques to use, which medallion insignia, as well as go over the power points, where I placed them, omegas, and hero synergies, and at the very end, show you my rotation, kind of give you some tips and pointers as far as how I was able to pass Cosmo Trial with this build. Do keep in mind, I did use roughly around 3,000 omegas or so, yeah, so again, this is my build guide for Loki, and once again, I'll be going over all the details as far as how I was able to pass Cosmic Trial with Loki with this exact build. So let's get right into it. First thing we're going to look at is the artifacts. One of the first artifacts is the one I usually recommend is the Book of Demonicus for the +3 to all attributes. It's very good and very strong. But also too, when you hit with the basic power, your damage is increased by 50 and it stacks up to 25 times. So if you have a basic power, it's very useful as well too. But mainly I'm using this for the +3 to all attributes. Then I'm using Sinister's Diamond for if both area and mental procs are active at the same time, gain 1 fighting for 10 seconds. But also this artifact gives you energy defense rating, mental defense rating, and when you hit with an area power, gain critical hit rating and +1 energy for 10 seconds, as well as when you hit with a mental power, gain brutal damage rating and +1 intelligence. So this is very good useful for him because he uses bit area and mental. So, and then for medallion, I'm using Mandate Medallion for the critical hit rating, brutal strike rating, also for the summon ally damage, health, duration, health, and damage. And then I'm using Iron Legion Armor Sheath for the brutal strike rating, +7 intelligence and health. Then I'm using Ultra Encephalo Beam, mental version, I guess you can say. This gives you 31% summon ally damage. When you hit with a mental power, recover 2 spirit, and when you hit with a mental power, regenerate 20 health as well too, and you get mental damage rating increase. This is very useful for him because he is very spirit dependent. Oh, not so much spirit dependent, but he uses up a lot of spirit, so this is very useful for him. Now for the uniques, I use all of Loki's uniques. These are all his uniques, as you can see here. You can replace some with something else because this is a summon build, so you can replace some of these uniques with something else that's more suited for summoners. But his uniques will do just fine. I mean, there are uniques out there that are better. I will admit that right now, but his uniques did just fine. So for the ring, I'm using Bloodstone Demon Band. I'm using this for, it gives you mental damage rating increase, +1 fighting, summon ally damage increase, defense rating, and also summon ally health as well too. For the costume, grade 1 through 4 critical damage rating, and for the core, I have it to where I gain physical defense rating increase and +1 speed and energy. Maybe not the best or ideal core, but it does its job because it gives you +1 speed and energy. If you have a core that offers you either +1 fighting or +1 intelligence or energy, and the one with when you use your med kit, it regenerates your health and spirit, that's the ideal because he's a bit weak and fragile, but this does okay, I guess. So, and then insignia, I'm using Nick Fury. I'm using this for shield tactical agent to fight alongside you for 30 seconds when you use a med kit. When you use any power, you and your allies gain 12% damage, summon damage increase, and +1 intelligence, and also this grants me damage rating, extra damage rating to bosses, and critical damage rating. For the pet, I have it to where I take 1% less damage from enemy melee powers, 40 spirit increase, base damage to mental powers, +2 ranks to ultimate power, and then +3 fighting. The Forge 800 defense, and I have it blessed to where I gain +1 durability, defense rating increase, and health increase. I chose that blessing because it gives you, again, for the defense rating, health, and durability. He's a bit weak, and so with this build, majority of it, it's kind of like it is a summoner build, but I do have a mix of range and melee, and I'll explain to you when I go over the powers. But so you want that durability to go up, and then legendary, of course, Neptune's Trident for the summon ally health, damage, critical hit rating, and so forth. And for team up, I am using magic. I am using my summon magic because I have 2 different magic team ups. I have a magic that's non-summon, it's all melee, and I have another, which is this one right here, this magic team up, which is a little bit of melee, but mainly focused for summon. Alright, power points, Glacier Shard, 5 there, Jotun Blood, max it out. Nothing there. One or special dissipation. That's one there. I believe it's just one there. Misdirection, obviously one there. Frost armor, max it out. Permafrost spikes, max it out. Signature, max that out. Load of deception, max that out. Illusionary projection, 3 there. Cold snap, max that out. Meteoric illusion, max that out, and then arcane ruin, max it out. Omegas, as you can see here, I use around 3,000 omegas, so let's get into it. Alright. Special weapons, 1 for assault rifle for the base damage to range powers. I probably wouldn't use that, but that's what I had at that time. Mutation, 3 to warpath for fighting. Nanotechnology, 4 to spin tech for the damage rating to bosses. Psionics, 4 to melt face for the brutal damage rating increase. And then Overmind's power for the +6 intelligence. 2 to merge and possesses for the summon ally damage and health increase. Supreme intelligence for the +1 intelligence, and then obviously Shadow Kings for the summon ally damage, critical strike rating, and critical hit rating. Molecular adjustment, 1 to anti-genesis for the +1 energy and mental defense rating and deflect rating. And I believe that's all. Okay, Arcane Attunement, 1 for Zerathos for the damage rating, brutal strike rating, critical rating to mental attacks. Interstellar Exploration, 1 for Earth for the base damage increase, and that's all. Alright, for Hero Synergies, I got Cable for the critical hit rating, Doctor Strange for the mental damage rating increase, Ghost Rider for the critical hit rating to mental powers, Iron Fist for the mental damage and then health regeneration, Magic for the health on hit and summon ally damage, Moon Knight for the critical hit rating to... I probably wouldn't use this. I don't know why I chose this by accident, but I have this by accident, so yeah, I would not use this at all. We'll use something else, but again, I'm just showing you what I used at the time for my Cosmic Trial video. Rocky Raccoon for the summon ally health and damage, Scroll Girl for the damage rating to bosses, Venom for the extra health, and then 5% damage increase if below 50% health, and the Wolverine for the brutal strike and brutal damage. I would definitely replace where you at? Moon Knight with War Machine, and possibly Venom with Ultron. But again, I'm just showing you what I used at the time. This is probably not the best. Using Venom and Moon Knight for the Cosmic Trial for any build with Loki is definitely not. You didn't want to have hero synergy points there. I would definitely put 1 on War Machine for to get that +1 fighting and spread increase, and then 1 for Ultron for the summon ally damage and +1 intelligence. That'd be the best one. That'd be ideal. So again, I'm just showing you what I chose at the time. And that's that regarding the items I used. Now let's get into the good stuff, as I usually say. The rotation. It's pretty simple. He's very spirit dependent. Well, not so much. It's just the way I play with him. He's very spirit dependent. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you in terms of how I play with them. So there's 2 hotbars that I use. They're basically all the same, except for one minor thing. So I'll show you that right now. So my first hotbar is kind of like my range hotbar, as I usually say, because it has glacial shard, illusionary projection, permafrost spikes, meteoric illusion, cold snap, arcane ruin, signature, and then misdirection, which is teleport or movement. And a hotbar number 2 is the same thing, but my basic is spatial deception. Okay, and then third I have here the toggle, which is frost armor. That is a toggle, so I have that activated. So all you do is click on it, and I have that activated. And what this does is it increases my defense rating, a total defense rating, regenerate health when you hit with a power freeze duration. Excuse me, and then damage 50% increase of damage to Son of Johan powers, which I believe are these right here, which then includes the signature as well too. So that's always a plus. But again, I'm just showing you my hotbars. So hotbar number 3 is just toggle. Number 1 and 2, they're very similar, but the reason, and I'll explain to you why I'm choosing those 2. I have 2 hotbars. So, Alright, so let's get into the rotation. So, just to get out the basics out the way and kind of get why I have two of the same hotbars, just two different powers. I use Glacier Shard whenever I'm low on health or I'm low on spirit, and I basically have no spirit. So what I do is I only use hotbar number 1, which is Glacier Shard, for me to do range. But it's a basic, so what it does is not only does it, there's 48% chance to freeze an enemy for like about 2 seconds, but it is a basic, so it doesn't use up any spirit. So I only use this whenever I'm low on spirit and low health. I usually just move away and use hotbar number 1, which is Glacial Shard. That's the only time I use it. Whenever I'm low, pretty high on health, then obviously I activate Spatial Deception, because this is a very strong melee. This is a very strong power, and the good thing about it also has a summon as well too. And so I personally prefer using this. But as mentioned, Loki is a bit weak and a bit fragile, so the only time I use Special Shard is whenever I'm low on spirit, low on health, and I still want to do a lot of damage, and I use this one. But once I'm, pretty good amount of health and spirit, and I activate Deception, that way I get to do melee, and it's a really strong, powerful basic power. Keep that in mind. So if you notice my video in the very beginning of Cosmic Trial video, I'm using Shard for, again, just to do the range. And then once I'm pretty good, I want to do a lot of health, I just kind of switch to hotbar number 2, use Deception, and then get close, and then use my power. See that? Alright, so again, those are just my hotbars. I'm just letting you know why I have two different things, and hence why I said the whole melee and range kind of rotation. It's just, again, that's just the way I have it set up. So now that we got that out of the way, now let's get into the good stuff, as I usually say. So he is a summon build, and so I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna go over each powers, and then that way you guys get an understanding, and then from there show you my rotation, and then that way at the very end when I go over my rotation, it'll make all complete sense. So one of the first things I usually use in my first rotation is use a summon build, which is projection. What this does is it projects summoners. It summons, as I usually say, and they're pretty good and pretty strong. The summon duration is about 20 seconds long, so let me show you what it looks like. But it's pretty strong, and I use it a lot. So let me show you what I mean. That's projection, and the great thing about this is that you can project up to 6 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hence why there's a hotbar right here. This tells you how many illusions there are. It's very important to know about this. Okay, keep that in mind. It's very important to know about this whole hotbar, illusions bar. Okay, so that's the first thing usually activate is projection. Is activate this. Okay, that's my first step to my first rotation. After that, just keep doing that and either do range, or if I have enough health spirit, like I mentioned, use Deception. And the great thing about Deception is that it is also summon 2, so when you hit with the notice how there's 4 right now illusions, 4 out of 6. I'm gonna use Deception right now, and you're gonna see it's increased. Now I have 3. There you go, see? So every time you use a summon or either projection or illusion, it summons one of your summons. So keep that in mind. But like I was saying, first thing I usually use is projection. After that, I use spikes. I use spikes because of the buff. But only at 2, I want to freeze the enemy, because for this here, if you read it carefully, not only does it do great deal of damage, but also there's a 50% chance to slow. 50% chance to slow attack and movement speed for 5 seconds, and freeze duration is about 2 seconds when you hit a chilled enemy. Now again, that's very good, because what I want that to do, and as I mentioned, he's a bit fragile and weak. When I activate this, my main purpose of using spikes is to either freeze the enemy or slow down the enemy. That way it gives me more time to do more damage, as well as my summons to do more damage. Or if I have to leave, I can move out the way, because it slows the enemy down a bit. I know it sounds kind of not a lot of time, but having those extra, if you freeze an enemy for about 2 seconds, it makes a huge difference. So hence why I'm using this power. Okay, that's spikes. The next power that I'm using is illusions. This is one of my favorite powers right here for Loki. And what this does is it kind of, I would always, for this power, I'll read it to you and then I'll explain to you how I utilize this. So what this does is basically it makes all your summons, it kind of does like a stomp, and I'll show you how it looks like right now so you can see what I mean. So right now I'm going to summon So right now I'm going to summon my 5, and then I'm going to use illusions. And the good thing about illusions too, again, it is a summon power, so it also summons someone else. But you notice how it did like a little stomp, and do it again. So I would highly recommend, well, I don't want to go ahead, so never mind. So that's what that power does. And there's a reason why I chose this power. Bear with me. So that's that power. That's illusions, alright? So we just basically does like an area damage. Okay, now Cold Snap. Cold Snap, again, I do like this damage. I mean, like this power, because it's nowadays do a lot of damage too, but you regenerate 100 health for each chilled enemy hit. Hence why I chose Spikes. And hence why I mentioned that he's a bit weak and fragile. Hence why the Forge, I have a +1 durability, defense, and health, is because he's a bit fragile. So I want to keep as much health as much as possible with him, because this power alone, Deception, is very strong. This is a melee power, but as mentioned, he is a bit weak and fragile. So having using a melee power with a character that's a bit weak and fragile is not a good combination. Not going to be a good turnout. Hence why I chose to use a Cold Snap, because not only does it do a lot of damage, but also you regenerate 600 health for each shield enemy hit, as well as 200% damage against frozen enemies. Okay, so that's pretty good. Alright, the last, not the last power, but one of his last power that's non-signature is Ruin. This is an area damage, and what this does is it doesn't not only do a lot of damage, but damage has been increased by 162%. This bonus is equal to 50% of your bonus damage to summon allies. So the damage is increased to this power per 50% of your bonus damage to summon allies. So that's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, and the good thing about this too is when you activate this power, you restore 26 spirit. Okay, that's very important to know, because again, when you're playing with him and you're especially using up his powers, his range powers, projection, spikes, mental illusions, obviously snap, you want to get that. Okay, you want to get that spirit increase. Now, one thing about this power is that what it does is it explodes or your summons. And so I'll show you right now. You see my summons right now. So you cannot activate this power. You can't now activate Ruin if you don't have any summons. You notice how there's no summons right now, or illusions, however you want to put it, and I can't activate it. But when I activate one summon, now I can activate it. And so what it does is it explodes them and it regenerates your spirit. So I'm going to explode it right now. Boom, just like that, and it explodes. Okay, so and then signature is just like a buff. Alright, so, and then what signature does is it does the damage rating increase by 1300, which is a lot. The defense rating is increased by 2700, which is a lot. You're immune to crowd control, which is pretty good. And then those also does mental damage, because it does like a weird aurora around him. You get mental damage, and also 50% attack move speed decretion to enemies nearby, and buffed, and it lasts about 8 seconds. It's pretty good amount of damage for a signature, which is a buff. Keep that in mind. So I know I explained a lot, and I said a lot regarding his powers. So what is my rotation? It's pretty simple, but once you understand the concept, it makes a lot of sense. So hence why I explained the powers. So the first thing I usually do is this: activate the projection. Usually do 6. Get all my summons down, and then just do my deception. And just keep doing damage. And then once all my 6 summons are out, then I start using my rotation, which is spikes. And just make sure my summons, there's 6 always active. 6 always active. And the great thing about deception, projection, just give you a little heads up. If you can always direct your summons to attack certain enemies. So let's say they're here and you want to attack this one. damage too. No, but anyway, go back here. So the first thing is make sure I have all my 6 summons out. Then I usually use is spikes. And then from there, do spikes, and then right after, meteoric illusion. That way does this, and then after that, snap, and then arcane ruin. Okay, that's my rotation. Now, why do I do it like this? Simple. One, I want to get all my summoners out as much as I can. I want to fill up this illusions to 6. That way, I get all my summons out and doing a lot of damage. And then when I do spikes, I want to freeze the enemy, because if you remember correctly, when you freeze an enemy, when you activate Cold Snap, again, you get 200% damage increase. So one of the first things I do, again, summon all my summoners with projection. After that, do spikes. Shortly after that, do illusions, and then illusions. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. Illusions, snap, and then arcane ruined. Or if not, I can always use projection, spikes, and then cold snap. But make sure that these two together, the way I have it set up here, make sure that spikes and snap, basically any chill powers, they always come together, regardless. Same thing with meteoric illusion and arcane ruin. So in their summons, you always want to activate them together. Why? Because they do a lot of damage to each other. They kind of help each other out. So for instance, if you do spikes, and let's just say, oops, sorry, if you do spikes, and you freeze an enemy, and you activate snap, look at that, almost 2 million damage just for that one power. Now, if you activate illusions with arcane ruin, because again, your damage is increased by per illusion. So if you have all your 6 summons, hence why I mentioned my projection. First thing I usually use for my rotation is activate projection. I get all my summons out. I make sure that before I use ruins, I make sure that I have all 6 activated summons. That way, when I use illusion, they all come together, activate ruin. This will do a lot of damage because all my illusions are there when it explodes, but also regain spirit. That's why I said always use these together. Illusions and ruin. So again, my rotation is simple. Activate all 6 summons. Once there, then spikes, and then snap. And then make sure all my illusions are there, and then do illusion, ruin. That way, all the summons explode and do massive damage. And then, again, I'm just showing you which powers go together. Now, my rotation, again, is simple. Projection. And it's spikes, illusions, cold snap, and then arcane. Ruin. That was 1 million here right there. You can't see it, but yeah. Alright, again, that's usually my rotation. But you always want to use spikes and snap together, because when you use spikes and your enemy's frozen, when you use snap, you're going to get 200% damage increase, which does a lot of damage. Same thing with meteoric illusion. You'll want to activate. The reason why I usually chose to do illusion before ruin is because if let's say I'm fighting Lady Hydra or Red Skull right now, right? When I activate illusions, what it does is it brings all your summons together to the specific targeted enemy or boss, and when you activate ruins, it explodes to that specific enemy. Okay, I'm gonna show you again. This time I'll show you with more enemies. So let's just say I'm fighting, right? And I want to do damage to this one or this one. Alright, all I do is here. They're all here. Oh, they all move. But you get my point though. Which is the reason why I activate. Before I activate ruins, I usually make sure I use illusions before ruin, is because I want to make sure that when I activate ruin, that all of my summons are all at the same, that are near that targeted enemy. That way, when I use ruins and I have maxed out illusion, it can do the massive damage. And then obviously with the signature, again, it's a buff, so you have 8 seconds. You can even do the same rotation, which is 6 of these, protection, spikes, like that, and I believe it's a 1.5 million damage right there. See that? And then again, I used my first hot part, Glacier Shard. It's a chill power 2, so again, even it goes with his snap and spikes. Then boom, the 1 million damage again. So again, I only use Shard whenever I'm low in health or low in spirit and I need to recover. I can, summon some of my summons, let them do damage. Meanwhile, from a distance, I can still do damage. Meanwhile, I recover spirit. And then once I have enough spirit, then I can kind of summon more summons. And I'm still low in spirit, then just keep doing this. And once I have enough spirit, enough health, then switch to hot part number 2. Then I can use a deception. That way I can do a lot more damage with my melee strike. And still do the summons and so forth. Now keep in mind, I'm using this 2 different hot bars is because I do not have, for one, I do not have the costume core that gives you, when you use a Medicaid, regenerate health and spirits. That would definitely help a lot. But I'm also using this kind of rotation is because he's a bit weak, and when I noticed when I played with, Deception, non-Cosmic Trial, I was doing pretty well, but when it came to Cosmic Trial, he was getting defeated pretty much. I mean, I was doing a lot of damage, close combat, but when Lady Hydra and Red Skull came about, even the Sentinel as well too, and they did they activated the powers, it just did a huge chunk of damage towards me, and obviously I lost quite a few times. But I noticed that when I did this kind of rotation, which I use Shard from a distance, and once I have enough health and spirit, then I get close and then activate hot point number 2 to use Deception, and just keep doing my rotation, which is summon 6, just like that. Oh, I need to activate that. There we go, 1.2 million right there. And then just summons, make sure they're out. Cool. Just like that. And that's it, really. This is kind of my rotation with him. He's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. He seems complicating, but he's not that complicating. I know when I showed you the 2 different hot bars, it seemed complicating, but it's not. But again, I only have 2 just for the way I can have a range. I can stay away and let my summons do some work. Meanwhile, I can kind of gather up my spirit and health. But once I'm good with spirit and health, go back to switch number 2 and use my melee. Use Deception, which is my melee power, which does a lot of damage, and just use this, and then just do my rotation again. Projection, spikes, illusion, snap, and then ruin. Before you use ruin, make sure you have all 6 summons. That way you take full effect. Or you can. That's usually my rotation. If not, then that's usually my main rotation. But if not, then just use spikes and snap together, because again, snap's damage is increased by 200% and it does damage to a frozen enemy. So if you use spikes beforehand, which is chill, which is the chance you can possibly freeze an enemy. When you use these 2 together, it's going to do a lot of damage to snap. So again, my first rotation, simple. Illusionary, make sure you have 6 summons out. Once they're ready, then spikes, illusion, snap, ruin, and then repeat. Or you can do the spikes. You can summon your 6 and then use spikes, snap, and then whenever then you can use illusion and ruin. That's usually my rotation. And again, I'll show you how it looks like. So I'll show you my first rotation, which again, it was these 3 literally in order. Now I'm going to show you, I guess you can say, my second rotation, which using the spikes, and snap, and then illusion, ruin. So I'm going to summon my 6. Spike, snap. That's 2 million hit damage right there. So that's 2 million damage, which is pretty good. Now, if you were to incorporate, or you might be asking, when do you incorporate signature? You can incorporate signature anytime, but it's really up to you as far as which rotation. And again, I just explained to you guys, my first rotation is either projection, make sure I have my 6 summons. Once they're there, I can use Spikes, Illusion, Snap, and then a Ruin. Or I can just do 6 summons and then use Spikes, Snap, and then Illusion, and then Ruin. And then for signature, you can use Activator whenever you can, but make sure that all your powers are reset already. They're ready to be utilized. That way when you activate signature, you can start doing your rotation. So what I'm going to do right now is my rotation, and I'm going to show you guys my first rotation, the one I explained. We're going in order from here. So signature. Oh, wrong button. Mainly there. My bad. I did the second rotation. I'll do it again. I'll show you this. Well, I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say, but I think you get my point in terms of my rotation and playstyle with Loki. And that's it, you guys. This is my build guide for Loki. Again, it's pretty simple. Just literally go in here from an order. Make sure you have 6 summons though. You can go in order here, or you can just do, the 2 frozen together and then 2, the summons together. And that's it, you guys. This is my build guide for Loki. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, like I mentioned. It's not that complicating. But once you play with this, if you do decide to play with this style, just play with it a little bit, and then once you kind of get the feel of it, it's not that bad. I mean, I was able to pass Cosmic Trial with using 3,000 Omegas, and not only that too, I even placed 2 of the hero synergies to not even the best, the best. I didn't even put them correctly. I mean, I put Venom. I should have put War Machine, and then I put Moon Knight, which he's physical powers. I should have put it on Ultron, which gives me summon ally damage and plus 1 intelligence. So if I were to place Venom, place 1 point for War Machine and Ultron, it would have made Cosmic Trial a lot more easier because it would increase my summon ally damage, increase 1 intelligence, and so forth. So, and plus 1 fighting and spirit increase. So yeah. Again, guys, I mean, this is my build guide for Loki. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. If this guide was helpful for you, again, please let me know. I always like to hear if my build guides were very useful. And if you have any questions or requests for certain characters for Cosmic Trial or build guides, please leave it in the comment section below. I know someone requested Magneto. I am trying Magneto. He's a bit weak and fragile. So I am trying to get Magneto out there for the individual who requested Magneto, so that'll probably be my next character, but I'm not too sure. But again, if you request for certain characters, leave it in the comment section below. If you want to see more videos of mine, or you want to see any updated videos, please subscribe to my channel. Not only does it help the channel out a lot, but also it means a lot to me as well too. Alrighty, so once again, any questions, leave it in the comment section below. Alrighty, on to the next one. Bye bye.